the last official service. Not for TNL. Don't even think on that. Like don't like even think on that. Like don't even think about that because it's not. So we've been talking a lot about video games, right? We've been talking like the first session I talked about was like let's get together, kind of make your creation sheet and kind of start on nail, but basically put in the foundation. And the second session, the second service that we had was about resetting your life, starting on a new save file. And then the one that was last night is basically how to have a team to properly make the game. So now the last step of this whole entire series is how to move forward. You know, how can we possibly move forward after all of that? After everything. That's kind of just like with New Year. When a new year passes, we sometimes like to make up resolutions for ourselves. You know, what is our resolution going to be for this year? What do we start setting ourselves some goals that we would like to accomplish. We would really like to do that. But sometimes we stop. Maybe we're just like, I want to go to the gym every day. Every single day. I want to make sure that I get in exercise. I want to make sure that I get the adjustments for my diet as well. These goals are going to really help me out. And sometimes we fail to do it. We have failed to be able to make those adjustments, trying to be able to do that. And especially with, how 2020 last year. Like, if we want to do a retrospective of last year, you had COVID, you know, and everything started to get canceled. Oh, you couldn't go to the gym, COVID. Oh, you couldn't do this, COVID. Oh, you couldn't attend E3, COVID. Like, COVID had a lot of effect, and we had to stay indoors for a good period of time. And some people were like kind of losing their mind, going, I want to go out again. I miss being able to go out, seeing my friends. Always have to wear this mask and stuff like that. And you're unable to go to like your favorite park as well, like because of that. Even as gamers, like when you're playing a video game, whatever that multiplayer game that you're playing, there are always changes. It always has different metas. How the character moves. What guns are they gonna add? To be able to make it more fun and to be able to maintain for the people that is enjoying the gaming content. You know, so it's just a lot to take in, and sometimes it feels like it's a roadblock. It feels like it's a stopping point, or a writer's block even. When you get your team assembled and you have your creation sheet and all of that, sometimes you'll have a roadblock, and you might not be able to know what to do or how to handle it and stuff like that. And you got to be able to make adjustments. Like I've been saying throughout this whole entire week, you got to put in the effort. You got to put in the time, and you got to make those adjustments. Like I've been hosting the Winter Bash, for example. Not a lot of people come, but heck, I'm still doing it because I'm persevering through this. I'm not trying to let it get to like the best of me. I'm trying not to. I'm trying to be able to stand strong on my ground, saying like, "Hey, I'm thankful for at least a few people that showed up." No, even though it wasn't a lot. So we got to talk about how to move forward. So my first point is do not focus on the past. Do not focus on stuff that went on in your past. It is done, it's history, it's written, it's written. In Genesis, somewhere in Genesis. There are these two cities called Sodom, and I think the other one's like Gomorrah or something. I think many of you at least heard this story. It's like in the past, but essentially God was going to destroy these two cities, and that these were two cities were against God in a very way, shape, and form that you can possibly think of. There was a lot of sin going on, a lot of unrighteousness, and God wanted to destroy that. But that is another Bible study for another time. I don't want to get into all the details. But God was essentially going to destroy those two cities. In verses 15 through 17, it says, As morning dawned, the angels urged Lot, saying, Up, take your wife and your two daughters, who are here, lest you be swept away in the punishment of the city. But he lingered, of the men seized him, and his wife and his two daughters by the hand, the Lord being merciful to him. And they brought him out and set him outside the city. And as they brought them out, one said, Escape for your life, do not look back, or stop anywhere in the valley, escape to the hills, lest you be swept away, and then we'll be going to move forward. And it goes into the next verses 23 to 29. The sun has risen on the earth when a lot came to sword, and the Lord reigned on Sodom and Gomorrah. I got it right. Suffer from the fire from the Lord out of heaven, and he overthrew those cities, and all the valley, and all the inhabitants of the cities, and what grew on the ground. But Lot's wife behind him looked back, and she became a pillar of salt. And Abraham went early in the morning to the place where he had stood before the Lord, and he looked down toward Sodom and Gomorrah, and toward all the land of the valley. And he looked, and behold, the smoke of the land went up like a smoke of a furnace. So it was when God destroyed the cities of the valley. God remembered Abraham and sent out of the midst of the overthrow which he overthrew the cities. So that's probably a lot to accomplish there. So we're going to try to take it from step by step to be able to understand what are these verses talking about? What do they actually mean? Um, and what are they doing? So most of us, could be probably in that predicament, saying like, "Oh no, the city's going to die. We need to go. We need to hurry." And some of us probably felt about that for 2020. Let's be honest. We felt like everything was bad. We were locked in. We couldn't really go in. We couldn't really go anywhere. And people say, this is the worst year of my whole entire life. You know, and also maybe there was good things that happened to you last year or even a few years ago. And you can look back and you can say, wow, that was my best years of my entire life. Or maybe there was failures and successes that you had in the past. You know, maybe in 2020 there was that specific sin that you're struggling with and that you've been entangled with and that you've been trying to get out of it over and over and over. And a lot of times what we do is we let those things linger in our mind. Like I said last night, we give the sin the opportunity to be able to come in. That's why we have to reset, like I mentioned yesterday morning. We have to be able to reset, basically start a new save file, is what we got to do. And we just let that happen. And that was kind of like the cities. The wife was having that mind of like, looking back. at those two cities. The town, was suffering. God was destroying both of those cities. And they were running through the valley. Don't look back. Move forward. Because there's a reason for God to do everything. Even though that was in the Old Testament, like I said, this is Old Testament, this is in the first book, Genesis. But sometimes we want to be able to look back. You know, it feels like something has stopped, you know, in our tracks the same way the wife felt. She turned around and looked at both of those cities. And just looked. Everybody, she couldn't help it and just glanced back. And part of her felt like she was going to go, she wanted to go back to those two cities. She felt like she was, like the first said, a pillar of salt. She was very unable to move forward, to be able to keep on going. And I think a lot of times for us is that we look back on our lives and that we don't reflect on it as much. We focus on all the bad things happening. Oh my gosh, all this. That happened. And sometimes we just dwell in that. Unfortunately, this is the truth. We dwell on it. We sometimes, us humans, in our sinful nature, we don't tend to think on it, reflect on it, and sit still with it on the Lord. Sometimes we try to look back and feel like, what if I did that? Would that ever change anything? That shouldn't be a question in your mind. Keep on moving forward. Like I said, you probably think 2020 is the worst year because of COVID, and you might be, stuck in our tracks. You know, but when you sit still, you start to understand what God is doing. The first step in moving forward is actually, like I said, to be able to reflect on the past. Not really focus on it, but reflect on it. To be able to chance to learn from that mistake so we can prevent it not happening again. Like we can learn from our failures. And we can even learn from our successes. We can even learn good things that has happened. It doesn't have to be all bad things. And us as humans, we always tend to focus on that because we feel like that's a down point. And we don't really focus on the good things. We rather focus on the bad things. And that is us. And that is stopping us from to be able to move forward in life. You know, there's just so much that could, go there. And there's some schools or colleges that would do like a morning thing. I'm forgetting morning bell or something, and be like, "What do you remember?" Back in elementary school, that was so cool. That was really cool. You know, and then all the students started writing it down. Why can't we do the same thing? Not only like they were also reflecting on it and thinking on it, man. Said like, "Wow, I did that." Like, wow, that feels really good of what I did back then. And we can improve on the good things. We can. We can actually improve on the good things. To get better. That's how we get better as humans, as us, by learning from the mistakes, by trying to fix them and not be able to, put a bondage on us, basically. that is what is literally happening. There's times where, let's say, you find this nice girl or this nice guy, and you're scared and terrified of walking up to them, but you don't know what's going to happen. That's the thing, and that's probably what's going through your mind. You know, and sometimes there is body language, of doing that. You might see girls and like, ooh, I think she's cute. Ooh, I think he is cute. I mean, I'm a guy, but I'm just saying that from a girl's perspective, you know. So, and sometimes you got to move forward to see if that guy likes you back or if that girl likes you back. That's the only way to know. If you don't ask him, then it will never happen. It would never ever happen. Honestly, it would really not happen like at all. Like, period. You know, like let's look at Philippians, you know, like in chapter 11, I believe, in chapter 4. Let's see what Paul is saying. Let's see what Paul, let's see what Paul, I mean, I'm pretty sure all of us knows this verse by now. I'm pretty sure every single one of us at least know this verse saying, I could do all things through Christ who strengthens me, but it has a few verses behind that. You know, I am speaking of being in need for I have learned for whatever situation, you know, in every circumstances. Like, I'm still going to be learning, I'm still going to be growing up. Paul never said that this was going to be easy. Like, he's a Christian and he understands. And he wrote letters in the Testament. He did. A lot of letters. You know, like Paul went through a lot. Think about it. Paul went through a lot. And do you think he looked back and think on those bad things? Like, think about it. Paul went through a lot in the Bible. You know, like, got really bad churches, being a servant of Christ and guards stopping him, saying that he shouldn't preach here, writing so many letters, trying to make a move, trying to be able to improve, and then got prison. Like, he was out there preaching just like Jesus was on this earth. Just like Jesus when he was on this earth. He was preaching the gospel, preaching the good news. And Paul was doing the same thing. But not a lot of people like Paul. Not a lot of people like Paul. You know, throw rocks at him, would probably leave him dead, stoning him. You know, he was adrift even in the sea. He was in the middle of the ocean, just hanging on the board. Dangers from jail, like from the city and the wilderness, brothers, hardships, hunger, thirst. Being exposed from cold. Having anxiety. Probably he probably had anxiety. You know, but guess what? While he was in prison, he was happy. He was joy. He wasn't thinking of all the bad things. And that's probably what we would do. We probably sit there and think, what have I done to deserve this? Or what if I did this to be able, if that would ever change the scenario? That's not doing anything for you. That's just questions running through your mind. Like, Paul even knew how to move forward. And what did he do? He kept writing letters. He kept worshiping. That's what he kept on doing. And he learned from all the good times that he did, even the bad times. And us, we see the bad times as COVID. We see that as a bad thing now. And we think that, oh, it's the end of the world. There's going to be a strain around us. Like, we're not going to be able to get out. This is it. This is forever. We're done. We're lost. We're gone. And I'm not here to tell you that. Because it's not like you were locked up. You still had internet. You still had things that you could do. And that might be hard saying, like, look at worse people, at least you got better. That statement is right, but sometimes that statement has to be in the right place to say it. You know, like, I've been trying to improve on my past. I've been trying to keep on moving forward, like with college things, right? I wanted to be a middle school, high school teacher. Actually, I wanted to be a math teacher. But then that changed. That really changed because I didn't feel like I could do it because like the classes were getting difficult, so I switched to elementary, and then I didn't like it, and I felt like there was roadblocks, like roadblock after a roadblock after a roadblock after another roadblock. But guess what? I kept on persevering. I kept on going despite of everything that's been happening to me during my college years. I'm honestly very close to actually finally getting my bachelor's degree, and it's going to be in history. And guess what? I changed from teaching as high school to college level because I couldn't pass the praxis. And I didn't let that to be a stumbling block for me. I mean, yes, I was a little worried. Yes, I was, but I tried to keep on moving. Is essentially what I am saying. You know, I may not have the best abilities to be able to take like a big time test. That has never been my strong point, period. It never has been, and I don't think it never will be. Even though it was my roadblock for a long time, I kept on looking around. I kept on pressing forward because I was not going to stop. Like, I want to be able to teach like how I'm doing right now with y'all. I love the idea of teaching. I really, really do. I really, really love to be able to teach, to help, whether it be kids, teenagers, or college students. I always want to be able to provide them for advice, just like how a counselor would, basically. But I'm not going to be a counselor. I want to be, a teacher. And I'm not focusing on those bad things. Oh, that roadblock. I guess I'll never be a teacher. Oh, I guess that will never happen because I can't do this big time test. So I guess I can't do it. I guess I can't really do it, and I just struggled there, and I just see it as impossible. Then God does all impossible things. Everything's possible through Him. Even if we may understand, and maybe when we give up, and we don't understand why it's happening, and that we keep focusing on the bad things over and over, and be preventing us to move forward. What God wants to do in our lives is to, instead of focusing on the bad things, we need to take a chapter out of what Paul says. Take a page out of his book and learn from all the bad things. Learn from our failures, learn from our successes, so that we can move forward like Paul. You know, he gave us a secret recipe basically in his letters. A lot of people take these verses out of context. I'm not saying that it's out of context because it's not true. You know, a very popular verse like we just went over, Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through him who strengthens me. And it's a great verse. But a lot of us would love to take that out of context. We're just putting it out there to make ourselves feel good. But when we put it in context, what Paul is saying here, I've gone through these terrible things. I know how to be in good times, even when I'm in bad times. And it's because the Christ gives me strength. And I'm not relying on my own strength. I'm not relying on what I can do. I'm not relying on my knowledge. I'm not relying on my past. I'm relying on what God can do to help me to understand what happened, to learn from it, and to move forward. God has given me this strength so I can be able to encourage others today, like whoever's listening. You can be very encouraging from this morning service. You can be very encouraging. And I encourage you. Maybe you don't have enough strength to move on. Maybe it's just really hard to learn how to deal with this. But like Paul learned, we need to be learning every single day and to be able to lean on God's strength. Because through Him, we can do all things. As this verse says here, as Paul told us. And so, my last point for every single one of y'all is to simply just move forward. There's that famous Disney quote. What was that Disney quote? I'm going to have to look it up. It's not in my notes. That famous, Disney quote about moving forward. It is a really famous quote. And it is honestly from Meet the Robertsons. I don't know if you ever watched that movie or ever even heard of that movie, but it is from that movie. And the quote is, "We keep moving forward, opening new doors and doing new things because we're curious. And curiosity keeps leading us down new paths." And that quote is honestly true. We sometimes get curious because we don't know what's going to happen on this path unless we try it. It never hurts to be able to try new things. It never hurts to be able to try something different, to be able to do something different, to adjust your life just a bit different so you be able to meet some of the goals that you plan on doing. So simply just move forward. God is specifically telling us not to remember the former things of life. He tells us that we're going to move forward. He doesn't want us to focus on the past. It is done. It is written. Why does it need to be brought up again? Satan loves to bring it up. Satan loves to bring up your past. Be like, hey, do you remember what you did back there? Hey, do you remember what you did back there, Alien? Do you remember? And Satan loves to do that because he wants us to be able to focus on those bad things. But we can reflect on them, learn from them. In Isaiah chapter 43, verses 18 to 19, it says, "Remember not the former things, nor consider the things of the old." He said, "Don't even consider them. Behold, I am doing new things now, and it springs forth. Do not proceed, it will make a way in the wilderness, and rivers in the desert." God is doing new things in your life. But he says here, it's there a new thing that's coming. But he asks us the question, do you persevere through it? Do you see what I'm doing in your life and see what's happening? Because we get so starstruck on looking backwards. We get so stuck at looking at all the bad things, all the failures. We don't even look at the successes. We more, as our human nature, we always want to focus on the bad things. But when we do, we're missing out what God is doing for us. He providing for us for a future. He's making a way. He is our way maker. He is making a way in the wilderness to be able for us to stick on this path. Are you just going to sit there and look at the rearview mirror passing those two cities, Sodom and Gomorrah? Just looking back, looking at your rearview mirror, looking at the two cities. Because you're thinking that you want to go back to that place that you used to be. And it's preventing you from moving forward. Maybe you're stuck. Or maybe you're still stuck. You're looking at COVID-19 and looking at all this, looking at your finances, looking at, job loss. A lot of people have lost their jobs last year, including myself. A lot of people. I mean, we don't know all the future entails, but we can be able to trust in God and put our faith in Him because He knows what He's doing within us. He honestly, absolutely knows what He is doing with us. So persevere. Here's the reason why, like what Isaiah was trying to say here, is that God, like I said, will make a way in the wilderness. Now, the Israelites at that point can be able to travel from Israel to Babylonia. And they had to travel from Babylonian back to Israel. And the reason why, because Babylonian took them into captivity on the way back from Babylon. They had a long travel, hundreds and hundreds of miles on foot. There was no vehicles back then, so don't even think that. You know, they might have a caravan, but it was still at least, I would say, roughly 4 months on foot. Yes, and you might be thinking 4 months, maybe that's not too bad. But how many of us struggle with an 8-hour drive? Let's be real. Let's be real. How many of us struggle with an 8 or even longer of a drive to be able to get to places? And like I say, you might be thinking, well, 4 months. And we look at it, that would be like 900 miles for us probably, and that was probably 8 hours on the vehicle. That's how far Israel from Babylon was. But guess what? God is making a way for you in the wilderness. He's making rivers in the desert. He's saying, even though it's dry out there and it looks like it's dry, I want to provide for you. So I want to ask you today, what is the wilderness that you're going through right now? What are you stuck in doing? What type of specific past that is preventing you to move forward? What God is trying to do is that He's doing new things, making a way for you. He is our way maker, our miracle worker, our promise, our keeper, our light in the darkness. He will help us get through whatever situation that we're going through. He is going to provide for us. How did the Israelites? Because God put river in the desert. They were providing for the Israel. They were so obedient. And God's saying, like, I'm not going to let y'all be stuck in the desert. So are you going to make a move today? Are you going to glance back at those two cities? Remember that popular verse, I can do all things through Him who strengthens me. I can do all things who strengthens me through Him. Whatever situation, whatever happened back in 2020 or even 2019, if you want to go further back looking at all them bad things, reflect on it. Learn from it. That's how you're able to move forward. That's how you're going to be able to keep going, especially with a video game company. You might have a roadblock. Y'all working very hard in the game, you know, and trying to beat this boss so hard, and you feel like it's a roadblock, and you feel like I tried different ways and it's not working, and it feels like it's preventing you to move forward in that specific game. Here, God does big things for us, for all of us individuals. So let's move forward and see what's happening in 2021. I mean, yes, the winter storm happened. I mean, yes, we could see how bad it was. But are we going to reflect on it? Or are we just going to focus on all the bad things that's happened? Think about it. Are you going to be able to keep on making them steps to see what God's plan is for you? Are you going to look in your rearview mirror and look at back on them, all the baggages that you were carrying? God is trying to get you out of that valley that you're in. He wants to be able to have a better life for you, be able to reach goals for His kingdom. Like we can go at the top of the hill and just look back on the destruction. But there's a hill at the end. And you need to make that step. You need to take that effort. Going the distance like Hercules. He was willing to go the distance, even though, it's an old Disney movie. I'm bringing up Disney movies now. But he was willing to go the distance. Like to be able to find his father, to be able to find where he belongs. Like he kept on persevering. So keep doing that. We have a very powerful God that is able to make these changes for you. Even though you probably can't see your future and you don't know what it all entails and you don't know what's set in stone yet. But because what our Heavenly Father does, He is completely pure and a perfect life. He did nothing wrong. Even though He did nothing wrong, He went set across to pay our debt. Are we also willing to go that far? He broke through death, the chains of sin, so we can be able to repent and change our minds, have different mindsets. I want to end it on prayer, and then I feel like we should listen to Waymaker again, one more time, as an ending song for this. So bow your head and let's go to the Lord in prayer. Holy gracious Father, Lord, I come to your throne, Lord. Lord, I don't want to be stuck anymore. I don't want to sit there and focus on all the bad things. Because when I do, I keep asking myself questions upon questions of how to get through this. Like, what if I do this? Would this be a different scenario? And Morgan doesn't do flippity flop, Lord. It doesn't. And I don't want that to prevent me from moving forward. To be able to do your will and to keep on going. Even though there's a roadblock, I know you have a path for me. I know you have glorious things for me. And I trust in you. You have done everything for us. And we are so thankful. And we want to keep on moving forward. Even though we're resetting, starting a new save line, making this team, we got to keep on moving forward. And I hope everyone that has listened through part one to this last part, I hope they get something out of this. And I hope they're able to start a new life if they're not Christians, Lord. If their first time reach to their hearts, Lord, that are listening or past listening. Reach to them, Lord. Help them to be able to lean on you. We might fall off and go our separate ways. And that's when we really need to reset our new save file. Because you're not done with us. We gotta keep on moving forward. Despite of everything going on, do not be focusing on the bad things. Reflect on them and learn from them. Grow from them and mature from them. Help us, all of us, to be able to do that. So that we can keep moving forward. So we don't have to look back on what happened to us. Whether it's in 2020 or 2019. Help us to be able to keep pushing forward. To keep on going. It never hurts to try anything. Because we don't know what that path could end us being. It can be a wonderful path, or it can be a dangerous path. But if we don't take that effort, we may never know. And then we gotta see if this is where you want us to be. Because we gotta trust in you fully, and we gotta put in the effort fully in order to make all of this work. So help us to do that. And to be able to keep on doing that through this week and the next week and months and years. To be able to fulfill your law of Christ. So help us all to do that. I do this all in your holy gracious name. Amen. 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 This is the last service for the Winter Bash. Not the last service for the whole TNL. So what we're gonna do is that we are going to play Waymaker again. Because that's a reason why I decided to play this song, because it is so powerful. So powerful. So let's go and listen to the song and worship. And then we're going to be breaking up into our small groups.
You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you, I worship you. We'll sing it again. You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you, I worship you. You are Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are here, touching every heart. I worship you, is who you are. Yes, that is who you are. Oh, that is who you are. Come on, sing, even when I can't see. Even when I can't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop, you never stop working. You never stop, you never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop. Yeah, you never stop. Yeah, when I can. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop, never stop working. You never stop. Oh, one more time. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop. Hey, 'cause you are Waymaker, Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Oh, you are, keeper, light in the darkness, my God. Come on, raise your hands and declare that. That you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. We declare tonight you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Oh, come on, lift up praise, lift up praise to the King of Kings, to the Lord of Lords. Oh, you reign over every situation. Oh, we declare you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper. My God. Oh, come on, one more time with all you got. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. That is who you are. Oh, one more time, you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper. My God, that is who you are. Oh, that is who you are. That is who you are. Oh, that is who you are. That is who you are. Oh, that is who you are. That is who you are. That is who you are. That is, oh, that is who you are. That is, that is who you
Joy unspeakable when I walk through the valley. I've got joy unspeakable even when I walk through the valley. I've got joy unspeakable even when I walk through the valley. I've got joy unspeakable all through the valley. Joy unspeakable all through the valley. I've got joy unspeakable all through the valley. No matter what comes my way, joy unspeakable. For glory, joy unspeakable. For glory, I've got joy unspeakable. You just can't keep me down. I've got joy unspeakable. Joy unspeakable. Come on, sing again.
Come on, one more time, over every situation, declare this. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my
That is who you are. Our waymaker, miracle worker. I hope that y'all get something out of this whole session, the whole series that we had, this little mini series that we put together for your guys. So right now we are going to be dividing up into small groups. So make sure that y'all are coming to the small groups, and make sure if you have any questions about any of this for any part of the mini series, or if you are a new person, and if you are a new creation, you become and turn to God for the very first time, we really congratulate you, and you are welcome to be able to come in the server if you choose to do so. I will post the server in the chat. So there is the link. When you get in, there will be a verification gate, and you will have to answer 2 questions to be able to get into the ministry server. And then make sure to be able to get the winter bash role and the small group role to be able to attend to these last, the last small group for the winter bash. So I am really looking forward to be able to see y'all there. So come to the small group, and if you have questions, like I said, if you're a new time, make sure to go through that, and we'll be able to help you create your own character sheet spiritual wise, like how you would do in D&D. If you're a fan of D&D, we'll be able to help you set up your own character design. So as we come in, so I'm gonna make sure to be able to get the roles if you want to be part of it. Like I said, um, and I will be there, and I hope to see y'all there as well. Um, Thank you for everybody that showed up so far. I might stream the tournament because that might be a thing. I know I've been only streaming the services, and not the small group. I mean, there has been a lot of people come to the games, so I haven't been streaming games. I've been streaming for someone to watch, and it's just me playing on my own time. But it's not like us trying to play together. So, I will definitely see y'all guys there, and thank y'all for everyone that supported this so far, and still continue to come to the events, even though it's the last day of the Winter Bash. I appreciate everything that we pour in our hard work to be able to make this happen for you guys. I have put in all my time and all my effort to be able to make this happen for y'all. So come in the VC, we're going to be starting, and I will see y'all there.